All right, let's take a look. Geometry. We are in our last, the last lesson of this unit. So almost there. This learning target, we're going to be focusing on the perimeter and area of polygons and circles. So our first example, and we've got like a claymation basketball court here, but a basketball court is 84 feet long and 50 feet wide. So find its perimeter and its area. So for perimeter, again, add them all up. You can add up all the sides because this is also going to be 84 and this is going to be 50. So you could do 84 plus 84 plus 50 plus 50. But you can also take 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. And that will equal your perimeter. So I'm going to do 2 times 84 plus 2 times 50. And let's see here. 2 times 84 is 168. 2 times 50 is 100. So I'm going to get a perimeter of 268 feet long. Area for a polygon, or like again a four-sided shape like this. This is a rectangle. It's going to be length times width. So 84 times 50 is going to equal 4,200, and that is going to be feet squared. So remember, when you take area, your units are squared because again, we have length times width. It's like 2 dimensions. Circles are a little bit different. I wouldn't say they're any harder, they're just different. So the radius of a quarter is about 12.1 millimeters. Now remember, radius goes from the outside of my circle all the way to the center. So I'm going to call this the radius, and we're going to say it's 12.1. Find circumference and area rounded to the nearest tenth. So circumference has 2 different formulas. So the one that you'll hear a lot is 2 pi r, 2 times pi times radius. I like to rewrite it as 2 radius times pi because the order of multiplication doesn't matter. Or, again, very similar, a diameter is something that goes all the way from one end of my circle to the other, and it's actually 2 times the radius. So 2 times the radius equals the diameter. So I could also say, well, I'm going to take pi times diameter, and that's going to give me my circumference. Now, because the problem gave us the radius, we're going to use this formula. If the problem gave us the diameter, we would use the other formula. So again, 2 times 12.1 times pi. 2 times 12.1 is 24.2 pi. And then pi is 3.14, or you can use the pi button if you have a graphing calculator. And so I'm going to get 76.0265 ... And because it said round it to the nearest tenth, that would be this term. So the 2 does not round out. So we're going to say that this is the circumference equals 76.0 millimeters. Your formula for area is pi times the radius squared. So again, I know what my radius is, so I'm going to say 12.1 squared. So 12.1 times 12.1 gives me 146.41. And I still have to multiply that by pi. So when I multiply that by pi, I get 459.96. There, we got more room over here. 96058 dot, dot, dot. Again, rounding it to the nearest tenth. If I look and I say, hey, I've got a 9, so I look at the number before it, that's a 6. So that 6 is going to round that 9 up into it's going to be a whole nother unit. So if I rounded it to the nearest tenth, I'm actually going to get 460.0. And again, area would be millimeters squared. So 460 millimeters squared. Okay, let's take a look. The triangle to the right has an area of 68 centimeters squared. So inside here is 68 centimeters squared. Find the height of the triangle. So in this case, I'm actually going to kind of work a little backwards. So my area formula for a triangle, so area of a triangle is base times height, very similar to a rectangle, but I'm going to divide it by 2. So what do I know? I know what the base is. I know what my area equals. I do not know what the height is. So I'm going to say, okay, if the area equals 68, I know the base is 17. I don't know the height, but I do know that it's divided by 2. So we can start by simplifying. I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So I get 68 times 2. 136. So this is going to equal, I'm jumping over here, 136 equals 17 times h. Again, how do I get h by itself? That's my goal, is to find the height. Well, I need to divide by 17, divide by 17, and 136 divided by 17 is 8. So my height is going to be 8. And in this case, it would be centimeters. So this is going to be 8 centimeters right there. Okay, last one. Find the perimeter and area of the triangle. Again, for perimeter, I need to add up the sides. But you'll notice I might not know exactly what those sides are. The good news is we have something called the distance formula. So I'm going to go ahead and calculate, or I'm going to label what my coordinates are. So it looks like point A is at -2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -2, 5. Point B is at 1, 2, 3, -4, -2. And then point C is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -2. So I need to figure out, in order to figure out the perimeter, I got to find the length of AB, I got to find the length of AC, and I have to find the length of BC. Now I can figure out BC really, really fast because that's just a straight line. So I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I know that the length of BC is 9. However, these ones, AB and AC, are a little bit trickier because again, if it goes horizontal or vertical, I can count. But these ones are at an angle. So I'm going to have to use my distance formula to calculate them. So I'm going to do AB first. So let's see here. So the distance formula for AB, I'm going to take my x coordinates and I'm going to subtract them. So I'm going to say -4 minus -2 squared plus my y coordinates, -2 minus 5 squared. Let's move this a little bit. All right. Now let's start simplifying. -4 minus -2 is -2 squared. -2 minus 5 is -7 squared. So negative 2 squared is 4. 7 squared is 49. So I'm going to get the square root of 53. So that's my length for AB, square root 53. And I have to basically do the exact same thing for AC as well. So let's just get a different color. Take my x coordinates and subtract them. I'm going to say 5 minus negative 2 squared plus negative 2 minus 5 squared. 5 minus negative 2 is 7 squared. Negative 2 minus 5 is negative 7 squared. So I'm going to end up with the square root of 49 plus 49, which equals the square root of 98. So this line right here is the square root of 98. So again, for perimeter, I'm going to take all my sides, add them up. And again, I would recommend using a calculator. Second square root of 53 plus the square root of 98 plus 9 is going to give me 26.1796. And I believe we are rounding to the first decimal, or to the 10th place. So again, I have to look at the number before my 1. It's a 2. So that tells me that I can round this to 26.2. And we don't have a label, so I'm just going to say units. All right, that's perimeter. Now I need to find the area. So area, again, of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. Luckily, we knew that this bottom base was 9. We were able to count that. Ugh. So this is 9. And now, in order for me to find the height, I can look and I can say, hey, I actually have, my height has to be perpendicular. It has to come to a 90-degree angle with my base. And I can actually see that from going from A down into my base. I can count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my height is 7. So plugging in what I know, 7 times 9 divided by 2, 63 divided by 2, which is, I think it's 31.5, but let me double check. Yep, 31.5. And again, because I don't have a unit, I'm just going to say units squared. So this one was a little bit more work, again, because we had to figure out what 2 of the side lengths were before we were able to calculate the perimeter. We had to figure out what is the height before I'm able to calculate the height.